Oh my, here we go again. Hello everyone, and welcome to my critique of The Boys Season 2, Episodes 5 through 8. This video is part 2 of my critique on The Boys Season 2, so if you have not watched part 1, which covers the first 4 episodes, then you can click either the card on the top right, or click the link in the description below. And if you have already watched that, then welcome to part 2. I know a decent amount of y'all have been waiting for this video, and I hope that this delivers. To those of you who are new and want to know what to expect from this video, I will be going through the last 4 episodes of The Boys Season 2 in order, and I will be talking about particular flaws that I find in them, in regards to the writing aspect mostly. I will commentate if I find other aspects of the show to talk about, like the acting, cinematography, editing, etc., but I mostly dedicate these kinds of videos to bringing up the inconsistencies and logical failings of the show, mostly with the story, characters, or world building. So if that sounds like your taste in breast milk, then go ahead and take a seat and enjoy my video. Now I do want to throw a little quick disclaimer out there for my viewers who have seen part 1. Unlike part 1, I will be doing something a little different. Rather than narrate every single scene in the show, I may skip a scene if I find nothing particularly wrong with it or have nothing really to say about it. Along with that, I may still narrate certain scenes if I think the information presented might be relevant to the review, or either to the show, or just for some other aspect. Lastly, I am also going to try to condense the narrating more for parts of the show that I don't feel I need to specify all the details of. So anyway, with those disclaimers said, let's go ahead and get this review started. Episode 5 opens up on Maeve washed over in a color grade that's the same of a used toilet bowl. She's looking for her friend in the rubble, then finds her and pulls her out. And from the overly dramatic music to the intentional over-the-top acting, it is very clear this isn't real, and just some movie Maeve is acting in for VOD. She heads over to Homelander, who is toying with Maeve's fears, since he now knows about Maeve's past lover, Elena. But Homelander's teasing gets interrupted by Ashley, who tells Homelander she must urgently speak with him. She shows Homelander a video that was captured of him lasering down a supervillain and an innocent bystander that happened to be in the crossfire. Right, so Homelander, little tip, it is obvious in that video you are half-assing this mission and showing very clearly that you are being extremely careless and inconsiderate on purpose. I mean, look at your face here. That's not the face of taking this seriously. Homelander, you proceed to make fun of the guy in this situation, you then laser him, and then fly off with the face of discontentment and acting like you're annoyed to be here. You might not want to act that way if you really care about your image and want people to see you the way you want them to, okay? Because of Homelander killing the bystander very carelessly, protests and outrage has been instigated, which makes Homelander very upset. Homelander says he will fix this himself, but Ashley says that Mr. Edgar and legal team do not want him to speak at this time. Stormfront butts in after saying that she is here to help Homelander when he comes to his senses. Next we cut to Butcher just, randomly beating someone up in some underground club, I guess. Yeah, I don't know why he's doing this. I guess maybe because his wife didn't come with him, I guess? Maybe that's why he just beats random people up. But it doesn't go well because Butcher gets his ass handed to him by the crowd, and then he goes into a small store to grab some goodies for his scratchy face. Now, I made this complaint in part 1 of my review, but I will just quickly reiterate it here. The show establishes that the boys are now wanted fugitives, and that the authorities know what they look like, yet they walk around in public areas like they are not, in fact, wanted felons. Along with that, rarely does anyone in the public recognize them. I mean, it feels like the boys are not taking the best precautions at all to the fact that they are federally wanted fugitives. They are just doing things and walking around as they normally do. It kind of makes inserting the plot point of them being wanted not as big of a deal as it should be. I will admit that it does change some aspect of their lives to an extent, as well as there are some parts in the show that indicate their everyday lives are changed somewhat, but I feel like the show is not making this plot point as big of a deal as it should. You can go ahead and watch part 1 if you want to hear more details about this particular criticism. So while shopping at Piggly Wiggly, Butcher gets a call from Huey saying that he is not mad about Butcher's actions because of Becca, and that he may as well do the very same thing. Butcher says that he knows they have been through a lot together, and that he always thought of Huey as his canary. After that phone call, Huey heads to MM to see if he can provide insight on why Butcher is acting the way that he is, as well as what the canary comment line means. The show then cuts to Judy's house, who is the aunt of Billy Butcher. The door rings and she opens it up to find Billy standing there. She starts going on to Billy saying that his mother is worried sick and that his dad is ill. Billy says he is not at all interested in seeing his parents and instead wants to see his pet bulldog and go for a stroll with him, out in public, again. You know, I find it odd that Aunt Judy doesn't talk to him about the fact that he's, wanted by the federal government. You think she would bring that up as the first topic of conversation when she sees Billy, unless somehow she has been living under a rock or just forgot that point. We cut back to A-Train, who is rehearsing his lines and role for the film. He talks with the director, saying that he did a small rewrite of his scene because he feels the dialogue originally written does not seem like him. But the director says that they would probably be better to do the scene as scripted, and A-Train is not happy about that. Shortly after, we see a small scene of the Deep and his new wife being interviewed on their marriage, which is followed by Kamiko, who is doing a job. She takes out the 3 random guys in the bar and then heads out, with Frenchie following behind. After that, we see Butcher is getting a surprise visit from Huey and MM. MM said he knew Butcher would be here because of the dog toy heard on the phone, and that Butcher kept his dog at his aunt's place. Butcher tells them he wants them to get out, but they say they are not leaving until they find out what's going on. With that, Butcher heads outside to the car and is about to take off until he notices Black Noir in the rearview mirror. Now that is a freaking coincidence if I ever saw one. Noir just lines up perfectly for Butcher to see in the rearview mirror. Wow. What level of chance is on display here? Also, Noir, is the roof seriously the best place to be in terms of being stealthy? Like, anyone could see you up there. You're an all-black dressed-up superhero with gear, armor, a mask, on top of a roof of a suburban house in broad daylight. This is not a good stealth tactic at all. Even if Butcher didn't see you in the mirror, he could still see you while driving away. Also, anyone walking or driving down the street could see you probably. Like some random bushes are honestly probably a better bet, Noir. Well then, after seeing Black Noir, Billy heads inside to tell the others and to come up with a plan. Billy also mentions that Becca is not with him because she didn't want to leave the facility. MM thinks that Noir will not kill them in front of an audience, so he calls the fire department saying there's a gas leak in order to buy them some time and delay Noir's arrival. Except, like, why would this delay Noir's arrival? No, seriously, why doesn't Noir just go in there and kill the boys anyway? You may think, oh, because he would be seen by the neighbors and create a scene. So, the guys that Noir is after are wanted fugitives, and one of them is wanting for blowing up Stillwell. If anything, the neighbors would be happy and glad to see Noir take criminals down. And even if it gets messy, Vought can just clean it up like they clean up every single other bad incident that their soups have done in the past. Noir has no good reason to wait until the fire department leaves. Heck, why doesn't Noir just jump down and explain to the first responders that the whole gas leak situation is the doing of fugitives that he is tracking? That Noir is a member of the Seven and that there are felons in that household that must be apprehended? That can totally work in Noir's favor. I don't understand why he doesn't do this. It makes no sense why he stays up there. So while all this is happening elsewhere, Annie is getting herself some lunch when she notices that Stormfront is talking to none other than her mother. She heads over asking what her mom is doing here, and she replies that she was in town and wanted to see her daughter that she misses so much. And it also appears that Stormfront has been told a deal about the relationship between Starlight and her mother. Annie tells her mom that she doesn't have time for this, to stop telling Stormfront personal stuff, and that she needs to get back to set. Next scene is just the comedic scene of the producers talking to Elena and Maeve about how they're going to promote and market on The Big Gay. There are a couple of things I would like to point out. Firstly, Elena doesn't seem to be on board with this at all, and doesn't like any of the ideas, so like, why did she come here if that's the case? Did Maeve force you, Elena? Or did Homelander force you? Secondly, later in the scene, Maeve reassures Elena that they are going to take Homelander down. Yeah, Maeve, maybe don't say that so out loud. I mean, Homelander has super hearing. He could very much hear you if he's close by, you know. At least confirm he is not close by before you say something like this. On to the next scene, Billy is thinking that maybe the best thing to do is for him to go out and be a distraction for Noir, and give the other two a chance to escape. escape. Butcher feels that he has no reason to keep going anymore, and that he could use a lie down. Huey completely rejects his proposal and tells Butcher he isn't the only one thinking about ending things, and that now Butcher can be welcomed into the club of not having anything, just like the rest of the boys. Butcher starts to get into Huey's phase and tells him to move out of the way, but MM butts in saying they are not leaving each other and will fight this situation out as a team. Next scene is Kamiko heading to the church to get her payment for the hit she performed. Frenchie finally reveals himself and finds out what Kamiko has been up to all this time. He tries to tell her that this will not make her feel any better, and soon they start to argue. Frenchie yells at her, saying he cannot understand what she is saying, and that he can't bear to watch her become a monster. The scene ends with both of them walking away from each other in distraught. This dramatically toned moment is followed by another tonally different scene for the Deep.
Hey dude, that's not cool.
I will say, the cringe level is really on point here. But I will also say that I am starting to notice something with the show, and that is, it is starting to feel like a lot of jokes and gags with no substance. I am not necessarily saying that the jokes are all bad. Some of them do in fact make me laugh. But honestly, even if they do, they aren't anything really outside of being jokes. It feels like the makers of the show are just trying to make fun of their characters or current events for the sake of just doing that, without it adding anything to the story overall. Look audience, look how edgy we are. Don't you like it? I mean, the show makers can do that if they want, but once the show starts to have it more and more, it just seems tacked on and only added for the sake of trying to be over the top or edgy, just for the sake of doing it. Alright, so after deep comedic scene number 147 billion is Stormfront talking to A-Train about the church, how it used to be pure until they let all sorts of people come in.
Some people are quality and others are garbage.
You get it? You getting it, audience? She's a narcissist. You know, just in case that wasn't made clear in episode 3. Stormfront, are you trying to expose yourself in front of A-Train? Because you're making it almost blatantly obvious. It is very clearly passive-aggressive behavior. It's like you're trying to drop hints you're a racist and want him to actually know. What benefit would that bring you or Vought? Absolutely nothing. So stop. So then Ashley comes in to talk with A-Train, talking about how he isn't wanting to do the scene. Ashley gives him an ultimatum saying that either he can say the lines and leave with dignity, or that he can get fired for breaching his morality clause from shooting up all that Compound V. So, one thing to note is that basically this scene and the previous scene with the director are basically the same scene, making them kinda redundant. They convey pretty much the same information with nothing really new or different between them. The Ashley scene is the only one that holds a little more information that's not previously established. So like, why not cut one of them out, particularly the scene with the director? The scene with Ashley starts with her saying that she heard from the director that A-Train doesn't want to do the scene, so we could just cut out that scene with the director and just use this one. We have the context needed, so there is really no need for that previous scene. So anyway, A-Train does go ahead and say his lines, and then we cut to the Homelander protest with Newman speaking at the event, saying it is time to bring Vought to justice. But the protest gets a surprise visit by Homelander, who flies in to try to clear up his actions to the protesters. So small thing to point out. Really small, I admit. Pretty much a nitpick. But that army guy, I think, is breaking his code. I don't think army people are supposed to show up to protests wearing their uniform. I think that is a big no-no in terms of the US Army code. Anyway, Homelander tries to defend himself. Not really well, of course. And the audience does not buy his excuses. And their comments and chanting get Homelander so upset to the point of... Holy cow, Homelander just lasered a bunch of... Oh. It was just in his head. Well, that would have taken this whole series in an interesting direction. I mean, I would have rather seen where this would have gone rather than what we actually got. So after that hallucination, we cut back to Black Noir, who is... He's still on the roof. Okay. Okay. I'm really surprised no one has spotted him yet, but I guess he's just that good at blending in. So now with the fire department gone, our heroes head downstairs to the basement to hide, where we also discover that Butcher's aunt is a dealer.
An affordable alternative to privatized healthcare.
Well, good for you, Judy. Going back to Homelander, he is having a breakdown and decides to give in to Stormfront's offer to help him. So what is Stormfront gonna do to help Homelander recover his career and shift people's focus away from his war crime? Memes. Yes, Homelander is gonna get his career saved through the power of memes. Okay, Am I that out of touch with reality? Cause I don't know about you, but I do not think that this is how memes work. Sure, people meme about political and current events, but I do not think they are that much of a powerhouse to save one's career and reputation. If anything, memes help destroy careers more than save them. Seriously, show? Memes are what's gonna save Homelander's career? Okay, sure. Whatever you say. Let's take a gander at some of these memes and admire the all-star quality of them. Opinions don't kill terrorists. Oh wow, what a banger that one is. So funny. Photoshop, huh? Well, if the guy is legitimately dead, which can be confirmed, mind you, then this won't help at all, will it? Photoshop is pretty good at covering up some things, but not if someone is actually dead, bro. So we cut back to the boys down in the basement where Huey learns from Billy's aunt about Lenny, finding out he was Butcher's younger brother. But their talk gets interrupted with an explosion overhead. Shortly after they... Oh, sorry. 2 explosions overhead. Then... 3 explosions overhead. Okay, I gotta ask, is Black Noir intentionally running into these traps? Cause after hitting one, you think he would be on the lookout for other traps, but it feels like he's just walking into them on purpose. And some will probably say he is doing it intentionally, but doesn't mind because of his regenerative health. Well, firstly, don't those bombs hurt him? I mean, I know he regenerates kinda like Deadpool does, but it usually still hurts even when he gets hit like that. So if these do cause pain for Black Noir, despite his regenerative ability, why would he do that to himself? I guess he's some sort of masochist? Secondly, he may have regenerative health, but he isn't invincible. Yes, he can regenerate, but he still takes damage and can be vulnerable if he gets injured enough. If he can get wounded to a point where the boys could have an edge over him, then him running into these traps is just putting himself into unnecessary danger. If he is doing it because he don't care, then I guess that's his prerogative, but this is a terrible tactic, okay? So after the explosions, Noir throws a gas can down into the basement to force the boys to go up top. As the others escape, Butcher closes and blocks the door behind them so that they can't stop him from sacrificing himself to Black Noir. Black Noir shows himself and is about to have a toss with Butcher, but MM breaks down the door and decides to face Black Noir with... Wow, what a great tactic. What are you doing, MM? What do you think that handgun is going to do? Your plan is just to come in and shoot Noir knowing that wouldn't do anything? That is your plan? Oh no, MM got hit by a small knife. Who could have seen this coming, except literally everyone? Well, now that MM is down, I guess it's Huey's turn. Let's see if he does any better. Oh my god, I hate it when this happens in movies. Stop walking up to the guy you want to shoot so that he can grab your gun out of your hands. You don't ever walk up towards him. You either stay where you are, and if he is walking towards you, back away. And if a wall is impeding your ability to back away, just don't move forward. Stay where you are. Why does everyone in movies and TV do the stupid thing of walking up to the guy that they want to shoot so that he can grab the gun? To every single character in every single future movie, TV show, or piece of media that is trying to shoot someone, stop walking up to the guy. It never works, okay? It doesn't make your gun more effective, it just puts you more in danger. So stop. So after that garbage display, Butcher tries to ward off Noir, but Noir knocks him on his butt. Noir starts to head for Huey, but before he can lay a blow, Butcher cuts in, saying that if Black Noir kills any of them, he will release photos he took of Vought's secret facility where they are hiding Homelander's son. So there are actually things wrong with this blackmail and scene overall. Starting off, if I was Black Noir, I would strongly suspect Butcher is lying, because why would he not mention the blackmail to begin with? Why bring up this blackmail as soon as Noir is about to kill one of the boys? Seems a little bit suspicious to bring this up now, don't you think? How would Billy even release the blackmail from where he is at? What, does he have some sort of pacemaker that triggers a computer to release the files? And even if it's true and Billy does release the photos, so what? You think the general public is just going to instantly believe this? Especially the fans of Homelander? Oh, it's a photo. A photo of what? Oh, Homelander's son in some facility? Oh, really? How do we know that? Well, the guy who released this photo said so. Oh, who posted it? Oh, Billy Butcher did. Oh, the guy who's a wanted fugitive who killed Stillwell, that guy? Well, we should obviously believe him without giving it much thought, right? And to add to that, Vought seems to have an unbelievably massive talent to cover up anything. So like, just release the photos and let PR work on it or something. Or just ask Stormfront to cover it up with memes, since that works so well in this universe. Moving on, Edgar weighs into the situation and tells Butcher that if he never releases those photos, then he will call off Black Noir. Butcher agrees, and Black Noir walks out of the house. Next scene, we see that Starlight is sneaking into Stormfront's trailer to see if she can find any information on her. She comes across her laptop, but it needs a password. And it just so happens there's a picture of Adele right next to the computer. So Starlight decides to give it a try, and luckily enough, it was the correct password. Wow, Stormfront. Emphasis on security much? Why not just have the password written on a sticky note sitting next to the laptop, why don't you? But unfortunately, Starlight snooping around is interrupted when Stormfront walks in. The conversation starts off about Stormfront talking to Starlight's mother, but leads to the topic that Stormfront knows Starlight leaked the V. Along with that, Starlight rebuttals saying she knows Stormfront is Liberty. But the conversation ends when Homelander walks in. Starlight walks out and Homelander has come to thank Stormfront for showing him the good news of the meme. The episode ends with Butcher and the boys leaving the neighborhood and Homelander and Stormfront super screwing each other. One thing that we must note from this scene is of Stormfront's lasered breast. I know, that sounds weird, but that is what we need to take note of for a critique later in this review. Okay. Next episode. Episode 6 starts off with a flashback of Frenchie's past. The flashback serves as a little setup that will lead eventually to explain the lamplighter incident. The show then cuts to the present where Frenchie, Starlight, and Huey are in an operating room about to remove Starlight's chip from her body. Frenchie uses some surgical saw to cut into Starlight's neck and remove the chip so Vought cannot track her. Which I guess that saw is stronger than a 50 caliber bullet, but whatever. But on another note, I feel like Vought would have some sort of contingency plan in case any of their heroes attempted to remove their chip, like some sort of sensors or alarm to send a signal to Vought anytime a chip is removed from a soup's body. I doubt Starlight is the first soup to try to remove her chip. I think Vought would want to be a bit more precautious, especially considering how many secrets they are trying to keep under wraps. After that, we cut to a robber trying to escape with his goodies, but is caught by Homelander and Stormfront. But rather than turn him into the police, Homelander decides to smash his face in. And he also decides to celebrate the execution by having sex with Stormfront in the alleyway, next to the dead body, smearing the guy's blood all over each other. Wow, very titillating indeed. It's like 50 Shades of Red. Homelander, why the hell are you doing this? Is this some sort of fetish? Even if it is, this is a terrible place to exercise it. You're not secluded, you know. You're in a public alleyway and people are walking by in the background. If someone does in fact look in Homelander's general direction and decides to maybe record it, what do you think this is going to do regarding Homelander's reputation? Probably damage it somewhat, you know, a bit more than it is now. And he seemed to really care about that, except here I guess not. Homelander, you're screwing someone in a public alleyway, covered in blood, next to a body whose head is missing. Pretty sure that would be quite a detriment to your image and cause other problems for Vought as well. After that scene, the show cuts to the underground hideout in which Frenchie, Huey, and Starlight have just arrived. And it appears that Kimiko and Frenchie are still not on good terms, but Kimiko warmly welcomes Starlight with a hug. Butcher butts in and asks why Starlight is here, and Huey responds saying she has a lead on Stormfront. Starlight says that she saw emails on Stormfront's laptop from Stan Edgar regarding a breakthrough at the Sage Grove Center, a hospital in Pennsylvania. Butcher thinks it would do some good to go check out this place and asks Starlight to come, but he's mostly asking her to come and serve as leverage if anything goes sideways. Cut to the next scene, and it is the Deep bringing Maeve evidence of the plane incident to her trailer. Maeve is not at all happy he is showing up here, and yeah, I agree. Like, the Deep isn't supposed to be associated with Vought or around any of their stuffs. Even Homelander told him to back off in episode 3, and Deep just shows up to the film set. I do think this is quite risky, if you ask me. Someone had to have seen him, and if Homelander finds out, this puts the whole mission in jeopardy. But dumb luck will prevail in this show, I guess. Cut to the next scene, and the Deep is meeting and talking with A-Train on the movie set. Yeah, not so secret a visit now, huh, Deep? Deep tries to empathize with A-Train, saying he knows what it is like to get booted and wants to offer him some help, starting by giving him a Fresca. Oh yay. Cutting back to the Sage Grove Center, and the boys are beginning their operation of sneaking into the center to see what they can find. Next scene is a small quick scene of Homelander asking Stormfront to come into his trailer for a surprise, but Stormfront says she must go meet her social guys at Vought Tower, but that she will be back in 20 minutes. Aw, isn't that sweet? Homelander got her flower. Wait, didn't the show establish that Homelander can detect when anyone is lying? So like, could he not with Stormfront, or did he just not care? But of bigger note, Stormfront lies about going to Vought Tower. Why wouldn't she just come up with a better lie? It is so easy for Homelander to verify who is at Vought Tower, which he inevitably does later, so like I think she may have wanted to come up with a better lie, one that could not be so easily disproven. We cut back to the boys, who are starting their little operation. Butcher is situated on the car with a sniper rifle, taking watch of the boys. He watches Starlight break the fence and the boys head in, but then he decides to keep Starlight in his sights and even takes off the safety. But he decides not to shoot her. Yeah, Billy. Like, why the hell do you want to shoot her? I know you hate Soups, but in regards to shooting her, why the hell would you want to do that here and now? That would completely screw over the entire operation. You would hurt Starlight, emotionally, not physically, make the boys mad, especially Huey, and freaking expose yourself. I think people in the Grove would hear a gunshot and your entire operation would be compromised. Like, why would you even think to do this? What is the point of this scene? Is it to establish that he hates Soups? 'Cause, like, we know that. That's his whole deal. So Starlight comes back to base and offers to help Butcher down, but he blatantly ignores her. She then rightfully gets upset at him for having a problem with her for no good reason. She then remarks that Butcher is a bully no different than Homelander, and that starts to get under Butcher's skin. But before they can continue their heated stares, they hear a noise overhead and are surprised to find that Stormfront has arrived at the facility. Wow, they decide to perform their operation the exact same day Stormfront happens to visit.
What a juicy coincidence!
Cutting to inside the facility, the boys knock out the guard manning the cameras and take a look at the security cameras to see what they can find. So here's the deal with this scene, yeah? MM's plan to get the guard to unlock the door is to tell him that he needs help because his patient swallowed his tongue. Why would the guard open the door for that? What is he going to do? He isn't a doctor. This is the first sign of BS that the guard should have detected. Also, wouldn't the guard be suspicious of these guys? Assuming he has worked here for a significant amount of time, I feel he would be alarmed seeing staff here that he probably has never seen before until today. If his job is being the security camera guard all the time, he would probably be pretty familiar with the staff and what they look like, and probably be alarmed seeing these guys who he has never seen before. Also, Frenchie, I thought you didn't like killing people. You were pretty upset finding out that Kamiko performed hits in the last episode and told her it was poison for her soul. But in this episode, you are totally fine with killing some guard who may not even be a bad guy. I can already hear the defenses for this. Oh, the guard was pulling his gun, that's why Frenchie shot him. Well, MM could have punched the guy or done many different things to secure and restrain the guard that didn't have to involve shooting him. Or, oh, I know, get Kamiko, your Soup, to restrain the guy. She is stronger and bulletproof, so she can restrain the guy and doesn't have to be worried about getting hit by bullets. There you go. Just one way to restrain the guard without killing him. Another rebuttal might be, oh, the guard works for Vought, so it's okay to kill him. They don't know that. They don't know who this guard is, what he knows, or how deep he is in cahoots with Vought. They don't even know what this entire facility has to do with Vought. That is why they are here in the first place. Kicking on, the boys find that this facility is housing a bunch of different Soups with many different abilities. They look at one camera to find Stormfront and another guy enter one of the patient's rooms. They want to see how the patient's powers are improving and to see if he's getting any stronger. The patient, however, is impatient, saying that he no longer wants to perform any tricks until he gets to see his family. Stormfront says alright and leaves the room. The guy here then closes the door, takes out a lighter, and burns the guy to a solid crisp. Yeah, this is just stupid. I find this to be extremely counterintuitive. To jump ahead a bit, this is the Soup army that Stormfront wants to build for herself, correct? Also, we come to learn that these are adults who are being administered Compound V, which is established that administering it to adults is far less successful than it is to children. That is why Vought administers it to the babies, because it is far more successful that way. So with that in mind, why kill anybody who shows the slightest bit of resistance? Like, what is the advantage or reason that you would kill any of these patients because they want to see someone in their family? Is it to make an example? Because nobody is watching. Nobody knows this guy is now French toast except Lamplighter and Stormfront. And with how hard it is to have successful test subjects of Compound V, I think killing them would be quite a waste. Also, how are you going to explain this to his sister? You're gonna have to tell the guy's family he's dead. Yeah, He lit himself on fire. We don't know how, but, he did. That's all you need to know. Like, I would understand if Tim here was being completely uncooperative for the longest time and causing them so much trouble, but this is like the first sign of rebellion that we know of from this guy, and you are just gonna burn him for that? Also, if you are gonna have to kill him, why do it this way? It's smelly, it creates a lot of smoke in a room with no ventilation. You're gonna have to clean up the charred corpse that might be sticking to it. There's gotta be a better way to deal with him than this. Anyway, after Lamplighter burns Tim into Krispy Kreme, Frenchie recognizes him and wants to take this opportunity to kill Lamplighter, because Lamplighter killed Mallory's grandkids in the past, which is what the flashbacks have been about all along. But MM says that they must stick to the plan and deal with Lamplighter later. They take all the data from the service and continue onward to get out of the facility, but on their way, they happen to conveniently come across Lamplighter, and unfortunately, Lamplighter recognizes Frenchie lying in the bed. Well, this is very stupid. Firstly, if Frenchie and Lamplighter know each other, and MM wants to stick to the plan and escape swiftly and undetected, then I think he would probably take the initiative of covering up Frenchie's face with the blanket. If you don't want to get spotted and there is someone here who knows you, then it might be a good idea to cover up your face so he doesn't recognize you, like he does here. Oh no, who would have saw that coming? But Frenchie also opens his eyes at Lamplighter right when he walks past. Oh, what good timing, Frenchie. Seems you very much want Lamplighter to recognize you. This is not the time and the place to do that, Frenchie. We're out in the open. But oh well. Lamplighter starts to get out his lighter, but Frenchie happens to reach him before he can get a clean shot. And Lamplighter burns away one of the prison doors, letting out one of the soup patients. Lamplighter tries to calm down Cindy, but an officer comes in and shoots the telekinetic in the back. This has Cindy turn the officer into Swiss cheese, and after seeing that gruesome display, the boys and Lamplighter make a run for it while the telekinetic breaks open the remaining prison cells. Okay, if Cindy here can break down her fellow prison mates' doors, then why couldn't she ever break down her own door? Was the show script telling her not to do it? I don't see any reason why she can't break down her own door and try to escape at any time. The boys and Lamplighter head back into the control room they were initially in and lock the door. Yeah, I don't know what that is going to do, guys. The place is full of soups with powerful abilities, including one that can break prison doors. Don't know what being in here will do. It isn't any safer than out there or trying to escape the building. The only way this might be potentially safer is you hide yourself, but you don't make an effort to do that. Even stupid vomit guy breaks in here in a few minutes, so this room is not any safer than it is out there. Also, Lamplighter reveals he knows the security code to get out the front. Well then, why did you come into here? Again, any soup can break down this door. You aren't safe here, you're sitting ducks. So if you want to get out in the first place, why did you bother coming into here? Just go to the front door, enter the code, and run out. So now the facility is an agent of chaos, and the building has been put on lockdown. MM negotiates with Lamplighter, saying that Kamiko is a soup and that his fire will do no harm to her. Well, so was this guy, and yet he got toasted. Don't think being a soup instantly means you're fireproof. But never mind, I guess. MM says that with Kamiko, Lamplighter has more of a fighting chance to break out of this facility. Lamplighter initially refuses, but after the acid vomit soup breaks in, and Lamplighter gets saved by Kamiko, he changes his mind. By the way, small note, I do not understand Acid Vomit Guy in terms of his power. Like, he sprues out acid that I assume he conjures up inside him, but if he gets it on his skin, it burns it off? Like, how come it doesn't melt his inside or his mouth or his lips, but it will melt the skin? Also, why doesn't the vomit burn through his shirt? What, is that a specially made Vought shirt or something? You didn't think to maybe put that all over his body to protect him from the acid? Outside the facility, Huey, Starlight, and Butcher are trying to reach MM by phone, but they soon discover they have a visitor, one of the patients from the facility. Butcher tries to keep the patient calm and in control, but the patient lets out a sudden shockwave that knocks Starlight and Butcher to the ground and sends Huey and the van flipping away. Butcher shoots the patient, and then he and Starlight run to the van to check on Huey. At first, he seems fine, but is soon discovered he's got shrapnel sticking out of his gut. Starlight tries to cauterize the wound, but the area has no power. Wait, so Starlight needs surrounding power to use her abilities? Well, that just opens a chasm of questions, but what I want to know more at this current point is if that is the case in regards to her powers, why not use the car's battery as a source of power? I know the car got flipped, but the battery may still be intact. You could probably still use it. Or since the Sage Grove building still has power, why doesn't Annie, Huey, and Butcher get closer to that so that Starlight could use the power to heal Huey? Or maybe just get closer to power lines somewhere? Like, there are a few fixes for this situation, but they don't do that. So with no power in the surrounding area for some reason, except for the Sage Grove Center, but they don't remember that, Butcher and Starlight decide to take matters into their hands and get Huey to a doctor ASAP, leaving the others behind. And I guess they decide to go by foot. Don't you want to try the van first? I mean, I know it got flipped and stuff, but if it still works, it would be a far better and faster method to transport Huey to a hospital. You don't just want to see if the van works at all first? No? Oh, okay, whatever. Back at the Vought movie set, Homelander has lost his patience waiting for Stormfront to return, and he blows up his own trailer. How hilarious. Stormfront then meets up with him to apologize for the meeting running so long. Homelander, though, makes it clear that he knows she lied about her meeting because he went to the tower and found out she wasn't there. So now there is tension between our hero lovers. The show then cuts to the Church of the Collective, where Deep, Alistair, and A-Train are having a nice dinner in a luxurious room. Actually, no, it's lunch, my bad. Deep brought A-Train here to discuss how he feels like A-Train has been always looking down on Deep, thinking nothing of him. A-Train doesn't like the atmosphere and is about to leave, but Alistair tells A-Train that he knows about his problems, like his dead and heart condition. Alistair continues saying there is a way that A-Train can get back into the Seven with the help of the Church. Going back to inside Sage Grove, the team heads into a room full of medicine and drugs. Lamplighter starts to toy with Frenchie, and Frenchie gets really upset. The scene then transitions to yet another flashback 5 years earlier, where Mallory and the boys meet Lamplighter for the first time. By the way, I personally find that staff to be quite cumbersome as a source of fire for him to use. Like, he needs fire in order to use his powers, so like, I think he would want it to be small or convenient, but no, he wants it to be this big staff. I think you'd be better off with something like attached to your wrist, man. But I guess he's just doing it for show. If that's his case, then fine, I guess. Mallory blackmails Lamplighter, saying that he will tell her and the boys everything he sees and hears at the tower, especially regarding Homelander for Butcher. Lamplighter reluctantly agrees and walks out of the meeting area. Mallory has a bad feeling about this, so she tells Frenchie to follow Lamplighter to make sure nothing goes sideways. Now, to the viewers watching this video, I know that I have been mostly narrating what is happening in these scenes without critiquing it too much. But do not worry, I do have quite a bit to say with this next scene. Oh man, quite a bit. So we cut to this scene where Starlight is trying to stop an oncoming vehicle. The vehicle stops with the driver inside asking what is wrong, and Starlight replies saying she needs him to get out of the car. Butcher and Huey pop out of the bushes, and the driver gets out of the vehicle. Butcher tells the driver that he is FBI and that he needs to commandeer the vehicle. The driver asks for an ID, and Butcher says he left it in his other pants, but that the driver can call his boss. The driver offers up an alternative, saying that he would be fine driving them to the hospital, but is not willing to give them the car since they're out in the middle of nowhere. Butcher then puts Huey down and starts to resort to more forceful, drastic measures. But the driver then grabs his own gun out of his car's glove compartment. Starlight tries to calm down the situation, but Butcher pulls his own gun out and tells the driver that he will take his keys whether he likes it or not. And he tells Butcher to stop and the driver to put the gun down, but the driver does not. The driver almost gets a shot off, but Annie blasts him back so hard that his head hits the road, breaking his skull and killing him instantly. Then Annie uses the car's power to cauterize the wound, and then they get into the car and drive off, leaving the body there just lying on the road. Okay, this whole scenario just makes no sense, and the only reason it happened is because of stupid decisions the characters made. Let's start back at the beginning of the scene. First thing to note is Annie telling the guy to get out of the car. I don't think any random person is going to get out of the vehicle because someone tells them to. If anything, the driver would probably be more closed off. Annie should have asked the guy if he could have given him a ride to the nearest hospital. That probably would increase the odds of the driver cooperating. The second problem is that it is not a good idea for Butcher to tell the guy he is FBI. I highly doubt any random driver on this road is going to believe that. You're a random guy carrying an injured dude out in the street in the middle of nowhere, in an area where there isn't a lot of people around. Perfect for a car hijacking. Just tell the driver that your friend is hurt and need a ride to a hospital ASAP because he's bleeding out, rather than making up something in which almost no one would believe in the first place. The third problem, and one of the biggest ones of this situation, is why the hell does Butcher feel the need to commandeer the car rather than just accept the ride? What is the reason they need to steal it? The guy straight up offered them a ride to the nearest hospital, but Butcher for some reason needs to steal the vehicle? Why? What for? The guy is literally offering you a ride. Take it. Huey is dying, you dumbass. This is the path of least resistance. Take the ride, get to the hospital, thank the driver, and be on your merry way. literally telling him you have to commandeer the vehicle is completely unnecessary and wasting time. Huey is bleeding out for goodness sake. Problem number 4. Butcher grabbing his gun and threatening the driver while the driver is holding the gun point blank at him. Now, I know that Butcher is tough and not really scared of a gun in his face, but he is doing stuff that puts him in unnecessary risk. Those things being taking his own gun out and making threats nonchalantly to the driver. Seriously, Butcher, you're a dumbass. This is a great way to increase your chances of getting shot. If I was the driver in this situation and I saw Butcher pull his gun out, I'd probably shoot him right there. It is very clear he's a threat and I don't want him to take advantage of me, so I am going to pull the trigger. All of what Butcher is doing here is making the chance of him getting shot so much worse. Someone may rebuttal saying he acts this way only because he has Starlight here as protection. Well, Starlight's powers do not include being faster than a bullet. If she did, she would have dodged the bullets that Butcher fired at her in the first season. Fifth problem with this situation, right, is Starlight not using her powers to a better advantage. There are better ways for Starlight to use her power rather than just blast the guy. Firstly, she can stand in front of Butcher so that the driver can't hurt him. She is bulletproof, so she can use herself as a shield. Also, she can take the gun from the driver, because again, she's bulletproof. If she did that, then maybe this guy would not have had to been taken out so brutally. On another note, she could have shown the guy that she was Starlight, that she is a superhero and a member of the Seven, and demonstrate to the driver her powers to prove she is who she says she is. There are so many ways this could have gone better, but our characters choose the absolute worst ways. Last thing to address is this scenario goes against Butcher's MO completely. He hates supes because of the harm they can cause normal people. Starlight just killed a random innocent civilian, and rather than Butcher getting angry, he's like, good job, kiddo. He's not upset by this at all, even though he very well should be, considering what we know about him. So wouldn't him being approving of Starlight killing this random dude be completely against the character that the show set up? I would say, yeah, it is. And there you go, that is pretty much everything wrong with this stupid scene. So with now that addressed, let us continue. Back at Sage Grove, Frenchie says that with the chemicals in the room, he can make a knockout bomb that would affect even the supes. While doing this, Frenchie asks Lamplighter why he never told Vought about where the boys were, or why they never came after them. The conversation then leads to the night that Lamplighter burned the children alive. Lamplighter retaliates, saying he didn't know they would be in the bed, and that Mallory was his only target, not the grandchildren. Lamplighter also says that he knows Frenchie was following him that night, and asks why he didn't stop him. This prompts to another flashback scene of Frenchie still following Lamplighter. Frenchie then gets a phone call from Cherie saying that Jay is dying and needs help. Frenchie tells her to go to the hospital, but she says no, and tells him to get there right frickin' now. Cherie, why wouldn't you want to take him to a hospital? Get access to medical staff and equipment and medicine that could save your friend's life? What, a hospital isn't better than Frenchie? Why do you not want to go to a hospital? Like, if Frenchie didn't answer his phone for any reason, then what are you gonna do? You just gonna let Jay die? Take Jay to a hospital. There is no reason not to. But alas, Frenchie leaves and heads back to his place to save his friend from overdosing just in time. Then he tells Cherie what to do to keep him alive, and Cherie gets upset that Frenchie is leaving again. But Frenchie tells them he has to go and leaves, leaving both Cherie and Jay quite distraught. Frenchie is about done making his bomb, and Lamplighter reveals exactly what this place is finally. It is a facility Vought is using to house individuals that have compound V in their veins, and that they want to stabilize the V. Vought wants the V stable enough to where anytime someone is injected with compound V, that they become a pure solid soup without any side effects or failed subjects. Lamplighter says he doesn't know why, and that they only tell him to burn any evidence that they want him to. Frenchie then tells the gang about what happened that fateful night, that he left to try to save his friend from ODing. And by the time that he got back to where Lamplighter was, he was gone. He also reveals that though he saved his friend that day, he never saw him again, and that he actually died a few months later by the same method of an overdose. The gang then tries to make it out the front door, but oh no, telekinetic Cindy just happens to be there. Frenchie tries to knock her out with the gas, but it doesn't work. But no matter, it is okay, cause Stormfront conveniently shows up and comes in to knock Cindy out.
What a juicy coincidence!
Stormfront then calls out to Lamplighter, and he reveals himself to keep the gang from being exposed. We then see Butcher and Annie walk Huey into the hospital, and it is amazing how easy it was to check him in. I mean, here is Butcher, wanted felon, at a hospital, just bringing in another wanted felon for medical care. and no one seems to notice for the sake of the plot. Like, the doctors are gonna ask for Huey's name, his records, medical history, and stuff. I find it very likely they are going to find out this is Huey, who is also the wanted fugitive. I do not see how they get out of this one, but at last the plot will write them a way out, because they always have a way out. We cut to Vought Tower, where Elena finds the GoPro of Flight 37 by sheer luck. Maeve says that she is going to show that to Homelander as blackmail to get him to leave her and Elena alone. Maeve, is there any other place you may want to keep that GoPro? Like, this is very incriminating evidence you have. I don't think Vought Tower is the best place to keep that, especially if Homelander happens to be around. Cause, you know, he has super hearing. If he were here at the tower right now, he could probably hear y'all talking, so I think there may be better options. Also, this is not going to work as good blackmail. I would say it hardly even counts as blackmail, but I'm going to fully address that critique in the last episode when she actually uses it. So stay tuned for that, okay? Cutting back to Frenchie, Kamiko, and Lamplighter, we see that they are in the forest meeting up with Mallory. Mallory knows they have Lamplighter, and she wants to see him. They open the ambulance door, and Mallory pulls out her gun since she sees he is unrestrained. She says she thought the incident was behind her, but that it is not. Lamplighter agrees, telling her that she should pull the trigger because it is what he wants. Frenchie tells Mallory that she can't punish him more than he already punishes himself, so then Mallory asks what are they proposing they do with Lamplighter. But that scene is moved off for the second to last scene of the episode, which takes place between Stormfront and Homelander in Vought Tower. And this scene is, well, cringe kinda doesn't begin to describe it. Stormfront understands that Homelander is upset about her lying, so she comes fully clean with him. She reveals that she was born in 1919 in Berlin, and was not only the wife of Frederick Vought, but also the first successful subject of Compound V. And along with that, she was also part of the Nazi Party. She tells Homelander that they are in a war for the culture, and that the other races are grinding them down, taking what is rightfully theirs, but that they can rest in the fact that they can fight back with the army of soups. That Homelander is everything she dreamed of, and that they both never have to be alone, ever again. Okay, so this scene, yeah, it's very cringe. Not only because of the line she is saying, which is so cheesy and overly dramatized, but her delivery is just not good. She is trying way too hard to make this emotional, and it just comes off like she's an inexperienced actress. I feel like I'm watching a middle school play. Seriously, just listen to it.
We are in a war for the culture. Races are grinding us down and taking what is rightfully ours, but we can fight back because that is Vaught's true destiny.
I'm sorry, I cannot take her seriously. This is honestly one of the most laughable scenes in the show, and they are trying to play it very serious, which makes it worse. But also, I must say, I don't know if Homelander would just go along with her proposal so easily. Like, does he actually believe in Stormfront's cause? I don't think he would just jump on board with it. The only thing that I would say is that he would be on board for 100% is never having to be alone again. But regarding the race and Nazi thing, do we really believe Homelander would just go along with it like that? Like, this could be very detrimental to his image, you know, and we know Homelander very much cares about his image. Well, mostly. So I feel like he would be at least standoffish about this proposal, but he just seems to go along with it so easily. But anyway, the last scene is just Cindy on the road hitching a ride. Yeah, I don't know how she broke out last time. We saw her get knocked out by Stormfront, but I guess they didn't bother to lock her up. They just left her there and didn't bother to secure her so she could just walk out when she awoke. Well, talk about lack of security. But yeah, now she is out and hitching a ride. Oh, and there is no point to this scene, by the way. She never shows up again, so I have no idea why the show feels like we need to be bothered to see this. It's completely irrelevant in the long run. But hey, at least the episode is over, and we can now move on to episode 7. Let's go! Episode 7 begins with, oh, yeah, this scene. You know what? I'm not even gonna bother. If you have seen the show, you know what this is, and the message that's blatantly behind it. This little scene has absolutely no relevance to our characters, it is just shoved in here to preach a moral. And that moral is, don't be radicalized by the memes. Also, take note of this meme he's looking at. Immigrate legally or die. Does that even constitute as a meme? Oh well, moving on. The show actually begins with the boys, Lamplighter, and Mallory meeting with Congresswoman Newman at her humble abode. Lamplighter is telling Newman what he knows, while Butcher is not liking the fact that they are giving Lamplighter up to government officials he sees as corrupt. Newman says that despite Lamplighter's past, he can be a good witness at the hearing, but needs more evidence to take to court. Mallory then has someone in mind. Next scene is Annie, who is meeting her mom in a public area where she can be easily noticed. Yeah, not really the best idea, is is it? Starlight removed her chip, which means that Vought knows she is trying to hide, and Vought is probably trying to hunt her down because she is now a potential liability. So with this in mind, does she really think this is the best place to be and meet her mother, in a public area, a public coffee house? Really? Starlight lets out a heartfelt talk to her mom about how there is no justice in this world, and that what she does means nothing. But her mom offers that they get away from it all, and that they will be okay because she cleared it with Vought. This news startles Starlight, but before she can take that information in, glass breaks, knockout gas is released in the coffee shop, and Black Noir knocks out Annie. Okay, so much is wrong here. Let's break it down, shall we? Firstly, is this seriously the route Vought wants to take to bring Annie in? Cause this will just cause them more headaches and trouble, and they are already not in a good place. They just caused property damage to a shop by breaking the window, and knocked out 4 innocent civilians at least. Maybe even more. So yeah, knocked out civilians and property damage. Someone is going to sue them, I am sure of it. Secondly, Vought does not account for the innocent civilians that are around. And I don't mean the ones in the coffee shop, I mean the ones walking outside in the street. They are probably looking at this, maybe filming it with their cell phones as well, wondering, hey, why is Black Noir and those dressed up a-holes attacking a random coffee shop? And why is Black Noir attacking that random girl? You know, assuming that no one recognizes that she is Starlight. And if the people out on this street do recognize her, then maybe they might be asking why Black Noir is attacking her teammate, Starlight? So many questions and so much blowback may be erased in the public. Vought would have to deal with the witnesses, the bad PR they are going to get from the property damage and harming innocent civilians, the questions that'll be raised as to why they are attacking Starlight when, as far as the public is concerned, she did nothing wrong. They would have to pay off the people who may sue them for property damage and other things. Another way this would hurt Vought is in their attempts to get their soups into the government and army. Because supposedly, they just committed this act without federal authorization. This would probably hurt their case and chance of better relations with the federal government. Is Vought even allowed to pull stunts like this? You don't think the local law enforcement might have something to say about this? So taking all of this into account, why didn't they come up with a better plan to get Starlight? Like, Noir can follow her and wait until she is in an opportune place for him to take her down. I thought it was established with episode 5 that Vought and Noir do not want an audience. That's why Noir waited for the fire department to leave. Yet in this scene, it seems like they just want the exact opposite. So if that is the case, just have Noir follow her and wait for an opportune time. He can wait patiently on some house's roof or something. Third thing to address. Minor point, nitpick I'll say, but that stand thing Noir is using would probably break before it would knock Annie out. Annie can withstand a 50 caliber bullet, and that thing that Noir is using is not strong. I have worked in places that use them frequently, they break very easily, trust me. Fourth and last thing to address regarding this scene is why did Vought knock out the people in the coffee shop? To not have witnesses? Well then, who is going to explain to them why they went unconscious? You think they're gonna wake up with a frickin' broken glass window and think, huh, I must have fell asleep, and just fall back to sleep? And again, there are civilians outside. If they knocked out these people so they would have no witnesses, then I do not see how that can work. There are people outside. Someone is gonna see. There is no way this is gonna be kept a secret. There is no way. Okay. Let's move on from this atrocity. Back to the boys, Mallory tells Frenchie to keep an eye on Newman to make sure she isn't in danger, and Huey gets assigned to keep watch of Lamplighter. Butcher then gets a call from his mom, calling to tell him that his father died and that she wants to see him in New York. Back to Annie, it appears that she is locked in a room full of glow sticks that don't run on power, so she cannot escape. Except for that she can, and this room makes no sense, but I'm going to address those critiques later in the scene when she does burst out. Don't worry, I will get to it. We then cut to a rally that Stormfront and Homelander are holding. This scene's purpose is mostly just to make fun of and comment on what was the political climate at the time of the show's release. But after that, Homelander says that they had a mole in the Seven, which was Starlight, but that no worries need be because she has been apprehended. Huey, of all people, happens to see this on TV conveniently, and he convinces Lamplighter that they should go and rescue her from the tower. Cutting to the next scene, not much happens here except Butcher visiting his father, who is dying of cancer. They get into an altercation about Lenny and a fight almost breaks out, but Butcher lets go and leaves off in a huff. We cut back to Becca. Oh yeah, Becca, I forgot she's a thing in the show. Homelander and Stormfront arrive, and Homelander introduces Stormfront to his son. Homelander apologizes to his son, for you know, throwing him off a roof, and tells Ryan that he wants to be around more and be a family. Now, for the next few scenes, there's not really much that I want to address or feel like I have much to say. There's a scene with Helena and Maeve flips the table. The next scene is where MM and Mallory meet Vogelbaum to ask him to testify. Another Butcher scene, a Frenchie and Kamiko scene, a Deep scene, an A-Train scene, blah 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 blah. I'm not saying they're necessarily bad scenes, mind you. There just really isn't anything to say about them, so rather than just narrate them, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip them. Where I do have some things to say is when we finally cut back to Huey and Lamplighter, who get into Vought with a human-size vent that was built as a secret entrance. You think Vought would secure that vent or deal with it, since they know it would be a major security risk that anyone can just walk into, but I guess they don't know about it for some reason. Huey and Lamplighter head downstairs and they come across an elevator where it needs a handprint to get in. Lamplighter says that it's a 50-50 shot. Either he's still in the system, or that if he's not, a SWAT team with AKs is gonna go down to get them. Right, so let's talk about the stupidity of this scene, Firstly, why would Vought still keep Lamplighter's biometrics in the system? They have no reason to keep it since he's no longer around. And it could pose a major security risk, especially since they know that Lamplighter does not like Vought. So why keep his metrics when he could use it against them? Secondly, Lamplighter says that if he is not in the system, that will trigger an alarm and get guards to come down to their position. If that's the case, do you really think this is a smart move? Don't you want to get more confirmation that you are in the system than basing it on bad chance? If you're wrong, you both die. This is beyond careless of both of you. Number 3, I thought Vought had this place covered with security cameras. Wouldn't the guy on the other end see the cameras and be like, hey, wanted felon Huey is in our building. Maybe I should do something about it. What, are there no cameras down here? Why would there not be cameras down here? This is their facility where they house soups. Number 4, the show acknowledging this doesn't make it any better. It makes it worse. See, there are moments in the show where it acknowledges that certain things about the plot or characters are in fact stupid and nonsensical, but continues on with it anyway. And I have heard a lot of people use this as an excuse to excuse the stupid plot point. The defense is, since the show acknowledges what it's doing is stupid, it is okay for it to do that stupid thing. No, I'm sorry, that doesn't justify it, and this excuse should not be normalized. If in fact the show writers know that some of what they are writing is stupid or illogical, but rather than change it to make sense, they just write a small acknowledgement of it and do it anyway, then I'd say that just makes it worse in some ways. Because they know it's nonsensical, but they don't bother to fix it. They just go, yeah, it makes no sense. We don't care, and neither should you. This excuse should not be normalized, cause then why bother trying to improve the craft and strength of storytelling when all your hiccups can be excused by telling the audience you know it's bad. Next few scenes are other scenes I don't really have anything to say. It's just a Maeve scene, a Homelander scene, Butcher sorting out Vogelbaum, yada 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 yada. But then we cut back to Lamplighter and Huey, who have made it to the conference room where Lamplighter decides to light himself ablaze. And this action causes the fire alarm to go off, which raises another question of why does no one go into the conference room to check to see what's on fire? I don't know, I feel Vought would have some systems in place to be able to tell where there is a fire in the building. I guess technically I can't count that as an objective critique, it's more a personal critique, okay? But now that the fire alarm is going off, this in turn conveniently lights up a light within Starlight's reach that she actually uses to blow herself out of her cell. Okay, we finally arrived. Let us address this stupid room and why her being stuck in here makes absolutely no sense. Did it occur to no one apprehending Starlight that maybe, hey, if that emergency light goes off for any reason, like a fire, she may be able to bust herself out? So, did no one think to maybe remove it so that she couldn't use it? Or why are there no guards outside her room to be some sort of backup in case she does happen to break out? Sure, the guards might not be able to overpower her, but they could alert the building or other soups of her escaping. This whole thing is another major security risk. But let us say the light is on the outside of the room, right? Or even better, they remove the light entirely. There are still many issues present. This location and whole situation just questions the consistency of Starlight's powers and messes up the understanding on how her powers work. How close must a power source be for her to use it? Do walls impede her? Because if that light is outside her room, it definitely doesn't. Does the light need to be on in order for her to use her powers, or does the light just need to be connected to a circuit? Can she not use power from the electrical wiring that is all around the building? If that light is in fact outside her room, then so were the hallway lights in this area. Why couldn't she use those hallway lights, especially since they're on? What, they don't contain enough power as the little blinking emergency light? Do you see where I'm going with this? This whole situation does not work. If that light was outside a room, why couldn't she use her powers with the help of the hallway lights? Why can't she use her powers when she's in a building that runs on electricity? You can't say the walls impede her because the show has not established that walls affect her ability in the slightest way. If that were the case, then she would not have been able to use her powers in the sewers in episode 3. And if anyone makes the rebuttal that the lights were out of reach, no. Just don't. Because if that were the case, she uses her powers in the next episode out in the middle of nowhere when she fights Stormfront. And if you say it is because she has the car as a power source, well, no. 1, she is pretty far from it, farther than the lights ever were, and 2, she is even able to use her powers after the car blows up. So with all this information into account, the whole fact is, she could have broken out of this place at any point based on what we know about her. I do not see any reason why she couldn't have broken out. This whole thing doesn't work. If anyone thinks it does, please tell me. I would love to see with what you come up with. So after Annie breaks out, she goes searching for her mother while Huey cuts off Lamplighter's burnt hand to use it to get out of Vought Tower. I kind of question whether his prints will still work with his hand being completely burnt off. Fingerprints don't work when the hand has been sizzled, you know. But I don't know, maybe the handprint thing reads your DNA or something, I don't freaking know. But a point to address even more than that is, while the building is being evacuated, no one happens to walk by the conference room and see Huey. Not one single soul happens to see Huey in this building the entire time he is here. That is just ridiculous. Starlight comes upstairs to the conference room for some reason, but Black Noir grabs her and starts beating her around. He manages to pin her down and starts to choke her. And I am just here thinking, hey, Starlight, yoo-hoo, blast his ass. You have a clean shot. Can you not use your powers while you're being choked? Also, why do you use your blasting powers only once? Like, this one blast is the only time you use it, and you don't use it for the rest of the fight. Like, keep blasting the guy. Blast him out the window or something. Your powers are effective on him, but you don't use them again in times when you very much can. You have opportunities you can use them, and you don't. But no, we can't have her use her brain, because then we wouldn't get the scene of Maeve saving her. Good grief, Starlight, your powers just get lamer and lamer with each second of this show. But no matter, coincidence just saves the day, cause Maeve arrives and puts down Black Noir by feeding him an almond joy because he has a tree nut allergy. Are you serious? The guy has a tree nut allergy. That is what stops this fight? Wow. But even more than that, how did she do that? If Black Noir just kept his mouth closed, this wouldn't happen at all. Also, I gotta say, the fact the fight ends this way is extremely lame. I thought we would get a cool fight, but nah, it ends with an almond joy. Sure, it may be funny, but I think it's lame at the same time. Also, Maeve, I must ask, why do you just leave Black Noir here? He will eventually recover from his food allergy, and when he does, what is to stop him from telling Homelander and Vought about what you did? His allergy does not stop his eyes from working, you know. When he recovers, you are so screwed, Maeve. Some may rebuttal this critique saying, oh, he never saw her because she came in from behind. Well, how many soups are as strong or stronger than Black Noir? There isn't a whole library to choose from in that category, so Maeve is at least, if anything, a suspect. This just puts her in danger, so why not either take him with you, hide him, or something else? So anyway, sheer luck happens to be on Huey's side because he finds Annie's mom. And very shortly after that, they bump into Annie. With all two accounted for, they make their way out of the building. I would like to take this opportunity to point out that in Huey and Starlight's wandering around the building for this entire scene, that they bump into absolutely no Vought employees or security personnel. The only other ones we see in the building are Noir and Maeve, and that one random guard. That is it. Doesn't anyone find it odd that throughout their entire escape, they run into absolutely no one at all? Like, did all the employees get out of the building literally seconds after the fire alarm went off? This whole scenario is nonsensical. We cut then back to Rebecca, who sees that Ryan is upset. Reason being is because Homelander flew him up to show him the entire facility and that his whole life has been a fraud. With that anger, he tells Rebecca he hates her and flies off with Homelander and Stormfront. You know, Rebecca, when Ryan asked you about this whole deal, you know what you would have said? Yeah, Ryan. Vought forced both of us to stay here because of Homelander. You ever wonder why I would keep you here? We aren't here because of me, Ryan. We are here because Homelander rapode me. I mean, sure, it may have been a bit much for the boy, but it's better than trying to tell him without sounding like you're covering something up. If there is a good time to tell Ryan what exactly this whole place is, I think now would be the bestest time. Moving on, Grace calls Butcher to tell her that Lamplighter is dead and can't be a witness. But Butcher says that he's got it all sorted, to imply that he convinced convince Vogelbaum to testify in the court case. Cut to a bit later, and we see the court case is about to start. Vogelbaum comes in to start his testimony, but before the case gets underway, heads start popping left and right. Now the boys are in quite the predicament, wondering what they are going to do next. And that is the end of episode 7. Alright guys, this is it. Last episode, let's do this! So episode 8 starts off with another gag of a school super terrorist attack safety video. This is kind of weird to see because there has been at most one super terrorist attack on US soil, so it feels off that they would be having these videos around so quickly. But more than that, what is a school gonna do against a soup terrorist? Oh, she has a gun. Yeah, that'll be so useful. And hiding behind your desk? Yeah. Very, very good. The show then cuts to Mallory and Newman talking with the Secretary of Defense, Robert. Robert says that the president declared a national emergency, that Compound V is to be used by law enforcement and first responders, bypassing the FDA in any form of testing of the drug. He also states that V is going for $5 million a pop. Right, so let's discuss this. So we know that in terms of the V right now, it is unstable. It is completely random in terms of what it does to adult humans. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and other times it just straight up kills the subject. The powers the subject gets are also random. They cannot control the V to give the human a certain power, so powers are unpredictable. So with this in mind, giving the V to law enforcement or any other federal branch of national security is not really the best idea. Because 1, you will lose some of your men and women because V is known to not work all the time and kill adult subjects a decent amount. And 2, because of the randomness of the powers, law enforcement or first responders may get a power that is completely useless to them. What is a medical first responder gonna do if he gets the vomit acid power? Throw up on his patients to put them out of their misery? Or like what if a firefighter gets lamplighter's powers? That would be hilarious. Like, these powers are not guaranteed to be beneficial for the job of the particular person who receives them. And also, they are only going for $5 million. I think V would be worth way more than that considering what it does. And considering what happened in the courtroom last episode, I don't fully buy that the United States government, or the people at large, would want more soups who can do that. But moving on, Robert tells Newman and Mallory that they are going to have to get more solid proof in order for them to really take down Vought. Next scene, we go to the facility where, despite the amount of security personnel looking around, they cannot seem to find Becca, who's trying to escape. Seriously? What is Vought security good for? And also, why are they bothering? They built this area for Ryan, mostly, not Becca, and Ryan is gone now. Homelander took him. So why are they bothering with Becca? What can she do? What do they want with her? I'm confused. Next, we see Annie and her mother saying goodbye to each other. Annie comes down into the base to see the boys are fired up and furious about what happened in the courtroom. So they are creating weapons and taking matters into their own hands. Huey and Annie do not like the route they are going, and Annie comes up with the idea of someone who may be able to testify against Vought. She asks the boys to give her and Huey the day to go find that witness. Next few scenes are not really anything worth commenting on. The next scene is Homelander and Stormfront, then Annie and Huey talking about the importance of Billy Joel. Although one thing about this scene in the car is Starlight asks why did Huey bother to come save her. Why would you ask that, Starlight? Maybe the reason is because you two really care about each other? I know your relationship has had some up and downs, but not to the point where Huey would be fine leaving you to rot or die in a prison cell. Next scene is Starlight talking to Maeve about testifying, but Maeve refuses, saying she has done enough for Starlight. Cutting back to base, we see that Becca has found the boys' hideout and that she needs Butcher's help to get Ryan back. Wow, she actually managed to escape that facility all by herself despite the countless guards looking for her. If she could escape now, what stopped her from escaping any time beforehand if it was this easy? But even more so, why would the shop owner tell Butcher to come up? Wouldn't that be a huge risk of security? The shop owner does not know who this girl is. For all he knows, she could be with Vought. I feel the shop owner will tell her, who? Oh, that guy? Yeah, he isn't here. I don't know why you would think that. Or at least the shop owner would be, no, there is no Butcher here, ma'am. You may have the wrong address. And then heads down there and be like, guys, there is someone here who knows Butcher is here. Y'all need to leave now. But no, Butcher heads upstairs to see who's asking for him rather than confirming at least beforehand who the hell knows he is here. Like, what if it was Homelander? Or the feds? Oops, Butcher just walked up and confirmed his hiding spot. Like, come on guys, you gotta be more careful than this. Next scene is Edgar meeting with Alistair about the church. Nothing really there besides the fact that A-Train was conveniently next door to hear the whole thing. No one bothered to check to make sure neither A-Train or Jeep were listening, or have this meeting in someplace more private, but whatever. Then we have a small scene of Homelander and Stormfront taking Ryan to Planet Vought to eat. The fans start swarming in, and the amount of noise makes Ryan uncomfortable. So Homelander takes him someplace way more quiet. Ah, this scene. Yes, there are things to talk about here. Let's do it. So Annie and Huey are having a conversation about their moms. Huey reveals his mom left when he was 6, and that she is the main reason he listens to so much of Billy Joel. But their conversation gets interrupted when A-Train gets into the car out of nowhere and almost causes a car accident. They get out of the car, and A-Train gives them a file full of incriminating information about Stormfront. A-Train tells them to not say that he was ever here and that they got that information on their own. So let's discuss what's wrong here. Yes, you may say A-Train showing up is kind of funny, but it was also stupid. Firstly, A-Train, you showing up in someone's car suddenly out of nowhere can very likely lead to an accident. It almost did. If in fact they did hit someone or another car, then what? Now Huey and Starlight have an accident to deal with, and maybe Huey could have gotten hurt or killed in the process. That would have had your plan go haywire. Plus, Starlight would be absolutely furious that you caused the accident that either hurt or killed Huey. Second thing to address is that A-Train doesn't want anyone to know he gave Huey and Starlight that information, or that he was never here. Well then, A-Train, maybe meet with him and give them the file in an area that isn't a public sidewalk with people walking around. Have you seen what you're wearing, A-Train? If you are going to do this on the sidewalk, at least don't wear your costume, for God's sake. People walking by be like, hey, look, isn't that A-Train? Isn't that federally wanted criminal Huey? What is he giving them? A file? Last point, how come A-Train is able to run fast again? I thought he had a heart condition, but now he can run fast again and is no longer dealing with his heart condition? Did the show forget that whole plot point? What, did A-Train get heart surgery off screen? Shortly after that, we find Butcher meeting with Stan Edgar. Butcher cuts to the chase, saying that he will find a way to get Ryan away from Homelander, and that Vought can take him and hide him someplace where Homelander cannot find him. But unlike last time, Becca will be staying with Butcher, and that Ryan gets a new mom. Yeah, there is one problem with that plan, Butcher, and that is Becca. You think she's gonna go along with this? Firstly, when she finds out about this, she will be furious and probably leave you again. And secondly, she would probably scout around for Ryan every day until she finds him. Why do you think she would go along with this willingly? I don't think you thought this through that well, to be honest. Next, we cut to Homelander at a cabin where he has taken Ryan to calm him down. Homelander says to Stormfront that he wants to be left alone, but Stormfront convinces Homelander to go in and talk to him. Homelander talks with Ryan, saying that he was once in his shoes, feeling like drowning when being in the crowd for the first time, that he flew far away and that he cried. Homelander starts becoming vulnerable to Ryan and tells him that sometimes he cries, and also that he wants to be there for Ryan and walk through the struggles of learning his new powers with him, and that he won't have to learn them alone like he did. Now I gotta say, I think this is legitimately a good scene. There's much character development and progression here for Homelander that makes sense and ties into what we know about him as a character. Homelander is always wanting to look strong and never look weak in front of people, so seeing him admit weakness to someone who he loves is definitely a welcome side to Homelander that I think most people would say the show is trying to build up to. And there is no joke here to undercut the drama being laid out in the scene, so well done show, I will give you 1 point for that. Moving on, we cut back to base where the boys are getting ready to hatch a plan to get Ryan. They ready and load up their weaponry, send the incriminating evidence against Stormfront to the press, Frenchie comforts Kimiko, and more. And after that montage, we cut back to the house where Homelander is trying to train Ryan to shoot lasers out of his eyes, which I must say, why do you set up the target with the house directly behind? You know that if Ryan gets a successful shot out and can't control it, which the show has established that to be the case, then he's probably going to cut through and damage the cabin that is right behind the minifigure. You don't want to set up that figure somewhere where the house won't be caught in the crossfire? Oh well then. Unfortunately for Ryan, he just can't seem to do it. Homelander suggests that he imagines someone he hates, but Ryan says that he doesn't really hate anyone. Stormfront chimes in saying that Ryan not hating anyone is not something they can afford, because
We're under attack just because of the color of our skin. It's called white genocide.
I can't. This is so cringy. Why would you tell Ryan this? He's a kid. He has no idea about this whole ideology and political endeavor. You think he's going to understand what you are talking about? Even Homelander has a face on like, Why are you telling him this, and telling him in the most cringiest way possible? But no matter, their power training is cut short when Stormfront finds out that her secrets have been exposed. She flies back to Vought Tower to see the news reports of her being a Nazi as well as an animation. You know, I am surprised someone made that animation so quickly. What, was that made in an hour? Or maybe he secretly knew all along and wanted to prepare this video when inevitably this information leaked. Also, Stormfront, why did she come to the tower? What, did she come all this way here to see the newsreel? You couldn't have pulled that up on your phone? Like, why are you here? What's the point of you coming back here? Next time we see her is when she has her fight with the boys, so like, what is the point of her coming back to the tower? Why is she here? Why did she fly back?
It's catchy.
No, it's not a catchy song. Shut up. So anyway, with Stormfront gone now, they need to take care of Homelander. Frenchie activates all of the supersonic speakers, and both Homelander and Ryan are affected. Homelander tells Ryan to stay in the cabin while he goes to check out what's causing the disturbance. As soon as the boys see Homelander fly off, MM signals Butcher to drive the car to the cabin. They grab Ryan and then head back. I kind of doubt they would be able to pull this off in time before Homelander comes back. I mean, it is an extremely small window and Homelander is extremely fast. I would say that is extreme luck in this case. So after they grab Ryan, Butcher drives back to base and MM is surprised because this wasn't part of the original plan. Becca is also wondering what is going on. Butcher tells her that MM is going to take them to Mallory, who will keep them safe, but Becca refuses, saying he needs to come with. Butcher then tells Becca the truth, that he was going to have Vought take away his son and that she would never see him again. But at the last moment, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Back at the cabin, the Vought team comes in to take away the boy, but find that both the boy and Butcher are gone. But oh no, Homelander comes back and is not happy with finding out they were going to take away his boy. You know, this mostly only happens because the radio happens to chime in at just the wrong moment. Oh, well, how inconvenient for every single one of y'all. Back to the hangar, Becca wants Butcher to still come with them despite what he was going to do. Butcher says that he can't go with because he doesn't want Ryan to be around someone like him, and that he begs Becca to do what he asks. Becca reluctantly agrees and gets into the car. They start to drive off, but oh no! Stormfront conveniently happens to show up right in front of their vehicle and send the vehicle flying across the field into a massive crash.
What a juicy coincidence!
Okay, look at what happens to that car. And both Becca and MM come out completely unscathed. No scratches, no cuts, no wounds, not even a broken bone. Yeah, no way. That car flew in the air and hit the ground hard and rolled quite a bit. There is no way any normal human being is getting out of that car with absolutely no injuries of any kind. Oh, she has a small scratch down her face. How nice. I think this is reminding me of something else from one of my other reviews. Can I remember what it was? Oh yeah. I mean, last time a van got flipped, Huey got impaled, so I think it would be more believable if they had at least, I don't know, one broken bone, maybe bleeding in a few places, just anything. Also, I must ask, does Stormfront know Ryan is in the car? I'm not asking for the sake of why would she hurt Ryan, because I'm fine with this not hurting him, but I'm asking in the sense of what is Stormfront gonna explain to Ryan why she did that. Ryan will be like, hey stepmom, why did you send me flying and almost kill my real mother? Anyway, Stormfront says, how dare Starlight send those lies to the press, that those pictures are deep fakes. Yeah. Make your lines more cringy while you're at it, Stormfront. So anyway, Kamiko says that she is gonna kick Stormfront's ass, and the fight ensues. During the fight, both Annie and Kamiko get knocked down for a second, so Frenchie decides to head to the car to get the RPG. But Stormfront blows up the vehicle at the hangar before he can do that.
Oh, the RPG! Is in the car, it's our only chance!
So Frenchie, word of advice from me to you. Maybe don't yell a weapon that can take down your opponent loud enough to where your opponent can hear you. Yeah, let me grab the RPG in the car and yell it very loudly so that Stormfront can hear and take measures to ensure we don't grab it. If you were tactful, you would have grabbed the RPG right when Stormfront showed up. Or at least have Kamiko and Starlight keep her occupied and distracted good enough so that you can go grab it. But the very minimum you could do is at least do not yell where your assets are out loud. So the car explodes, and thank goodness Frenchie and Huey didn't get any closer, because if they did, both of them maybe would have died. And as it looked like all hope is lost, Stormfront gets a surprise visit from Maeve, who comes to save the day. Yeah, how did she get here? She can't fly, and I assume she didn't use a car. Did she hop all the way here? That is such an amusing thought. She hopped all the way over here. Oh, I gotta go save Starlight. Boing, 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 boing. Okay, so now with Maeve here and Kamiko snapping her neck back back into place, the three girls take on Stormfront and get the upper hand.
Just do get it done.
Yes, nail it more on the head, why don't you? Also, while on that topic, the show has made fun of that fact. Like, it very much is making fun of blatant woman empowerment scenes, like the one in Avengers Endgame. You remember that one, right? This show, in bits and pieces throughout, is making fun of things like that. But then the show just goes and does it here, unironically. So now I guess the show is making fun of itself? Anyway, after this fight scene, which to be honest, is not well edited, it is reminding me of very poor action movies where it cuts so much that you can't tell what is going on, like the Taken sequels or Quantum of Solace. Usually editors do this to cover up the poor choreography, and honestly, yeah, that's probably what they're doing here. But back to the plot, Stormfront sees she is outmatched and decides to fly off, so now everyone is safe. But in any case, boys, I would probably suggest to you all that you quickly find Becca, Butcher, and Ryan. You know, just in case that is where Stormfront is trying to head off to. Or you know, just in case Homelander finds them. I say this because this is the last we see of them for the rest of this scene. We don't see this crew again until after the whole situation is over. So like, what are they doing this whole time? Just staying at the hangar and having a beer in celebration of their victory? Cutting to Butcher, Becca, and Ryan, we see, oh no, Stormfront found them, what a shocker. Stormfront approaches Ryan extending her hand when... Okay, who wants to take a guess at what is wrong with this scene? Just take a wild guess. Don't know? Well here, I'll help you out. Human, bullet and laser-proof soup, knife. How does that happen? So Homelander's lasers, shotgun shells, and bullets won't hurt her, but a kitchen knife will? And stabbed by a human, no less. What, is her eyes the only part of her body that isn't bulletproof? If that's the case, then how lucky is Becca that she just happens to aim for the only body part of Stormfront that isn't bulletproof? The X-Ray on Amazon says they did this as a nod to the comics, but in the comics it was Kamiko who plucked out the eye, not Becca. Too bad it didn't happen that way. It would have made more sense that Kamiko would do that, because, you know, she's a suit. So anyway, that makes Stormfront angry, and she starts to choke out Becca. But after Ryan pleads for Stormfront to let her go and Stormfront's not listening, Ryan happens to get his powers out and laser blast Stormfront. When the scene comes to, we see that Stormfront's limbs have been amputated and turned into fried crisps. Amazing again that Homelander couldn't do that, but Ryan apparently can. But it is not all good when Butcher sees Ryan crying and saying sorry to his mom. He looks over and sees that Becca is bleeding out profusely from her neck. Butcher does not know what to do and yells for help. Becca tells Butcher that he must promise to take care of Ryan and keep him safe, as well as let Ryan know that it wasn't his fault and that he is a good kid. And with that, Becca releases her last breath and sadly dies. I must say, I do not know how Ryan's eyes would fry Stormfront but somehow cut a wound into Becca's neck. Like, how does that work? Why is Becca and Butcher also not fried chicken? But I will say I will give kudos to the scene for the acting. I think it's very effective here, okay? So after that, Homelander flies in to find that his girlfriend is now French toast. Or should I say, German toast? I'll stop. He tells Ryan to come to him, but Ryan is not comfortable doing so. I wouldn't either. I mean, look at Homelander, the spitting image of a safe father. Homelander plans to take his boy by force, but then Maeve makes a second surprise appearance. Yeah, literally. How come no one heard her or saw her coming? How come Butcher or Ryan don't take a small glance when she comes into view? How come Homelander couldn't hear her come up with his super hearing? Did she also hop all the way over here too? So now Maeve is here, and she demands Homelander lets them go, stops hunting Starlight, and leaves her and Elena alone. Because if he does not, she will release the video of Flight 37, incriminating Homelander forever. So I am glad we got here, because let's face it, this blackmail is absolute trash. Firstly, Homelander replies with saying that if she releases the video, he will go absolutely ballistic and destroy everything. And she says good, as long as no one loves him. No, Maeve, not good. If you release that video, Homelander will go ballistic and there is nothing anyone can do to stop him. You can't stop him, and no one in the Seven is powerful enough to stop him either. So what's your plan then? Just let him annihilate the entire world? Well then, this hardly works as blackmail if the blackmail in question only makes Homelander's chance of becoming more unhinged even more than it is now. This makes it worse, not better. Secondly, if I was Homelander, you know what I would do in this situation? I would first laser the phone so that the data and video are completely fried. Then I one punch kill Butcher. Then I would kill Maeve and then take Ryan. Boom, problem solved. But Homelander doesn't do that, for some reason. Seriously, Homelander, what is stopping you? Just laser the phone and she can't use it. She doesn't have anything else that has the video on her person at this moment, so just laser the phone, kill Butcher, then kill or at least knock out Maeve, and then take Ryan. And if anyone asks why Maeve is dead, just say Stormfront did it since she was there. And if all else fails, Homelander's forgetting the one most important thing he could use to get out of this blackmail. Memes. But no, Homelander falls for the garbage blackmail and stands by while Butcher takes Ryan away. So after that, Vought holds a press conference blaming the attack in the courtroom on Stormfront and forcing Homelander to apologize to Starlight for wrongly criminalizing her. After that, we cut to the church where Alistair tells A-Train that thanks to his little stunt of getting the evidence against Stormfront, Vought is letting him back in the 7. Funny, he was originally let go because of his popularity dropping and because of his heart condition that prevents him from running. Also, Homelander didn't want him back. So now I guess without any proper explanation or reason, A-Train is just let back in the 7 so easily. Plot point contrivingly resolved. Unfortunately for the Deep, Vought says they can't let him back in just yet. A-Train pieces out, Deep gets upset at Alistair for not delivering on his promise and tells him,
Fresca.
Yeah, tell him, Deep. Lay into him about Fresca. We then cut to Starlight and Huey meeting up in a park. Huey tells her that he wants to be able to stand on his own 2 feet and not be so clingy to the boys, but still wants to cling on to Starlight and hopes their relationship can continue. After that, we cut to Ryan and Butcher sitting by the riverside thinking about their little adventure they had of today. Butcher takes off the necklace that Becca gave him and gives it to Ryan, telling him it will keep him safe and that Ryan's mom will always be with him. Grace then shows up and gives Ryan a ride off to somewhere safe. Grace tells Butcher that he and the boys' records have been wiped clean, even for the crimes he did commit. Oh, so you can just do that so easily, Just say abracadabra and your slate is wiped clean? Seriously, why is it always so easy in the media for this to happen? I'm no expert, but I don't think it would be that simple. Anyway, she also mentions that the White House is putting together a division to keep tabs on the Supes, led by Newman, just in case Billy is ever interested. We then see the resolution of the episode as well as the boys go back to their normal lives. MM reunites with his daughter, Frenchie and Kimiko dance their way into their next adventure, Homelander has a wank on top of a skyscraper, Alistair gets his head blow off and Newman is revealed to be the head popper, and Huey is going to work for Newman in taking down Vought. I must say, Newman, it's kinda risky you are blowing off Alistair's head in broad daylight. I mean, sure, no one can really pinpoint you did it, but I mean if anyone saw you, recognized you, saw you look into the window, and then see blood splatter all over it, and then sees you walk off, they might be thinking, what was that all about? Why does no one in the show take more precautions when committing things like, I don't know, murder? Also, why did you do it? Do you have a good reason to kill this guy, or did you just do it because you're mad? Like, this guy said he had so much dirt on Supes that it would benefit you, and all he asked was an extension of his tax cut. I feel Newman would think that would be totally fine in regards to her goals, but no, I guess not. And with that final plot point, the episode is finished. That's it! It's done! We have finished The Boys Season 2. So let us now go into the conclusion of this review. The Boys Season 2 is a show that puts more emphasis on being shocking and edgy than it does on character arcs and coherent narrative. As you have seen, there are quite a few problems with the logic of the show. For example, like the superpowers that are inconsistent or whose rules just change to fit the plot for the sake of continuing the narrative. We see that with Starlight escaping her prison cell or Stormfront, who's supposed to be bulletproof, getting stabbed in the eye by a human. Inconsistencies like that happen throughout the show. In terms of the characters, their arcs, assuming they have one, are not as strong, and a lot of the characters are just here for gags or jokes. This is especially true of the Deep. In Season 1, he actually had more going for him and had involvement in the story that affected the characters around him. In this season, he's just comedic relief. If that's all the audience thinks of him, fine, I guess, but he has been dragged down in terms of his character comparing it to Season 1. When it comes to Billy and the boys, I honestly do not find their characters that investing or interesting, at least not as much as I was in Season 1. Butcher is straight up an a-hole now that I do not root for. Sure, he was kind of an a-hole in Season 1, and at least in Season 1 he was someone you were rooting for. In this season, I was not really feeling like rooting for him. In fact, I would say his character has been ruined in some ways. I mean, he's a guy who hates Supes because of the pain they cause normal humans, but when Starlight, a Supe, kills a random guy, he's like, I like this. And he betrays every single person pretty much on his team, even his wife. So what's left to like about him other than maybe how ruthless he is? In regards to Huey, he's lost a lot of his strong characterization from season 1. It feels like his motivation is kind of all over the place in this season and doesn't have a solid goal. The first season set up his story very well, and we fully understood his motivation. In this season, that motivation feels lost, and it seems not clear what his motivation is now. And as for the rest of the characters, a lot of them are just here. They don't have much going on that I can latch onto or relate to. In regards to the show, I think another huge problem is that it is more style over substance. From the terrible memes, to the obsessive commentary on the current events, to the show trying to be as shocking as possible, it feels like the makers of the show are trying to just get a reaction out of people more than have a solid story. And to reiterate, as I said, so many things that don't make sense in terms of the plot points, the inconsistency in powers, the dumb decisions by characters, wanted felons that can just walk around and no one seems to spot them or point them out unless characters want to. Characters doing things they don't want people to know about, like A-Train delivering evidence on Stormfront, yet he gives it to wanted felon Huey out in broad daylight. The stupid blackmail that doesn't work whatsoever regarding Flight 37, and many more examples. With all this said, I don't really think The Boys Season 2 is that good. I will say I get enjoyment out of it, more than not, but I can't say it is good or even close to as good as most people think it is. So overall, I find The Boys Season 2 to be kind of forgettable and lackluster. Only about maybe average at best. I really don't care that much for this show anymore. If I were to give it a score, maybe a 5 out of 10. Granted, there are some good things in this show. The acting is solid for the most part, though there are some cringe parts here and there, particularly regarding any lines delivered by Stormfront. There are some scenes that do have character development and emotional leverage, like when Homelander talks to Ryan in the cabin. The special effects for the most part are fine. The cast is good, the music is nice, but they're just using Billy Joel's songs, so. And there are some funny moments too. But with all that said, it is bogged down with the problems I have stated in this review. So in conclusion, I just find The Boys Season 2 kinda meh, and not as interesting as Season 1. And I hope this review has shown you why I think this way. But anyway, that should be about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Before you leave, don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more in-depth critiques like this one. But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.